Alhamdulillah, for the introduction, and I'd like to thank the community for inviting me to this auspicious occasion. Tribute to the panel and to my good friend, Adam. I was asked to do somewhat of a background from the perspective of Dar Islam and its early development. So I prepared something and I put it together in the form of a prologue and epilogue of Dar Islam in America. So the idea of Harakatul Dar Islam, or the Dar Islam movement, which was headquartered at Yasin Masjid in Brooklyn, New York, it was first conceived in 1962 by three outstanding brothers Rajab Mahmoud, Isaac Abdul Rashid, Shahid, and Yahya Abdul Rahim, Kareem, Rahimullah. These visionary brothers, whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had advanced in knowledge and guidance, had as their primary objective the establishment of an organic, functioning Islamic community. Up until this time, the indigenous Black American Muslims had attended Jummah at various Islamic places. The number one in Brooklyn was the Islamic Mission of America at State Street, which was later named Masjid Dawood, which was founded by Sheikh Dawood Faisal. However, these three founding brothers grew dissatisfied with the directional focus of the Islamic mission, whose leadership or practitioners principally were following or came from exclusively the Middle East, and who were either unwilling, unaware, or irresponsive to the needs of the indigenous people in whose midst they had settled. These brothers, which again was Mahmoud, and then Abdul Shahid and Abdul Kareem, were motivated by a sincere love for Islam and by a sincere love for the people from whom they themselves had sprung from. They knew that there was a natural affinity between Islam and the downtrodden in America. They sought to establish an Islamic community in the true sense of the word, namely a body of people living and striving together in a common cause for their mutual benefits and achievements. MashaAllah, they finally realized the ability of Islam to be an uplifting force for the people such as the poor and the downtrodden of Brooklyn's slums and ghettos. They sought to propagate the life-giving message of Islam in order to arouse the sleeping giant in the country. The establishment of a society based on the principles of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's religion, Islam as foremost in their minds, they endeavored to mobilize the people to change what was in their hearts so that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala might change the conditions of the people by way of the Quran. So it was in 1962 again that a bay'ah, or pledge of allegiance, was drawn up by which Muslims in general might align themselves with these brothers in an inspired effort. The actual first bay'ah wasn't instituted and administered until 1963, when brothers from all over the country came together to form the first Jamaat and elected Rajab Mahmoud as the first Amir or Imam of the Dar Islam movement. And they were located at that time at 1964 Atlantic Avenue in Brooklyn. And there were over 150 brothers who came in attendance at that gathering for that first acceptance of bay'ah. In 1968, Imam Yahya Abdul Karim was chosen to be the Amir of the Dar Islam movement and expanded to all cities across the country in America, as well as in Toronto and Montreal, Canada, as well as in the Caribbean. These were how far the communities under the leadership of Imam Yahya Abdul Karim had expanded all throughout America, in Toronto and Montreal, and in Canada. And in the Caribbean, excuse me. During the years of 1979 and 1982 is when there was a floodgate of immigration, and along with this immigration, various ideas entered into the country and into the minds of the community at mass. With them came different isms and schisms, entering our communities and declaring that we had no serious knowledge of Islam, and that no one had given us ijazah, or a declaration or permission to preach and teach the doctrines of Islam, nor could we compete with the massive economic base that these immigrant communities came with. They placed people in our midst that had no intention to lead our struggle, but rather to contain our struggle. And it was around the same time in 1982 that Imam Warithuddin Muhammad ended his leadership of the World Community of Islam in the West